Y'all ever go to like catch up with your friends, and whenever you guys meet up and talk to each other, they tell you that they've been partying, they went traveling, they went to a club and hit up a new restaurant. And when it's your turn to update them, you're just like, yeah, I was at home. I walked my dog. Went to the grocery store. And then you notice this is the same catch-up conversation you end up having over and over and over again. So then you start to get into your head thinking that your life is boring, that you're not interesting, that you're missing out on things. And you keep thinking that until you start to spiral. Yeah, welcome to the club. I'm pretty sure that at some point in time, we've all felt like our life was super boring. So before you go down that rabbit hole and decide to like completely revamp your life and be a whole different person, let's take a second and just talk about it first. If you're new here, my name is Iralis, and I'm here to share with you guys my self-development journey and what that actually looks like, not the trendy, sugar-coated Pinterest version. So that way you can be more prepared for your own growth journey and just be more intentional about your life. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button because you know that you've been wanting to be a better version of yourself, and let's just get into it. So you think you're boring, you're having FOMO, and you're about to revamp your whole existence. Before you do any of that, have you stopped to think about why it is that you suddenly think you're boring? Because until you started sharing your life updates with the people around you, you had no problem with the way you've been living. But then you had the conversation and you suddenly started to feel self-conscious. Why? Because you started to worry more about how your life looked instead of how it feels, which happened because we're literally programmed by society and TV and social media to think that we always have to have something big going on in our lives, to be super productive, to be super involved, to be super active. And when you catch up with your friends or you look at their socials, they're always busy doing something or having some amazing outing or a wild story, and they seem constantly busy. And the reason you see that is because everyone has bought into this idea of like reaching max productivity or having this go-getter lifestyle, which I don't even know if y'all have noticed, but it even now extends to you like growing and improving as a person. Because be honest, how many like do this to glow up videos have you guys seen in the last year? I feel like I see a new one pop up every week, and it's not like it's a bad thing to have them. It's just that everything we do in life, even things that are just supposed to be for ourselves, has been turned into like a competition or something to win at and like market and put on display. It's not just about having the best life for yourself or like being the best version of yourself anymore. It's now also about portraying that for other people, which is why I posted my villain era video last week. So you get caught up in thinking that my life is boring because you went from like placing focus and value to how your life looks and feels to you to how it looks and feels to others. So you start to feel like you're too far removed. You start to doubt yourself and you start to look for things to like add into your life that's gonna go along with what everybody else is doing and also look like and portray what society is like pushing on you to be like the standard. And next thing you know, you're doing things that drain you, things that don't make sense for you, things that don't align with your values, or things that you can't afford because now you're living your life in a performative way and trying to put on for other people. But the truth is that like living that kind of busy life is just not realistic. I feel like as I've gotten older, and especially since social media became a thing, we somehow became like super obsessed with like this like go-getter lifestyle and just always being busy and always being on the move. And while I'm actually with like the whole productivity era like side of this thing because it can be super helpful if that's what you need, I just don't think that accepting this like constant hustle lifestyle as like the standard for our lives is, you know, healthy. Somewhere along the line, this idea of being constantly busy and like overworking yourself somehow became like the goal of what our lives should look like, but it's not realistic, and it's definitely not glamorous when you don't have the time, you don't have the money to free up your time, or when you're just finding yourself like consistently drained because of all the events or all the people that you're constantly like exposing yourself to. And before all the marketed BS, or before you started comparing, you probably didn't even consider your life to be boring in the first place. You were probably happy, focused, and aligned with whatever you were doing, and knowing that it speaks to you and makes sense for you. Because if you actually think about it, you're probably not outside all the time because you just don't like it. Maybe you grew out of going to the club every week and getting drunk, getting into messy situations. Maybe you don't have a bunch of dramatic dating stories to share because you're in a healthy relationship. Or maybe you're just in a stay-at-home season because you want to save money or you want to pay off some debt. So all that other stuff that like people are doing and your friends are doing is just noise because of the season you're in. You don't have all that noise anymore, so you hear silence. And a lot of the time we're so used to the noise and like consumed by the noise, and everybody around us is like glorifying the noise, so you perceive the silence to be nothing and be emptiness. But in reality, silence is peace. And what it actually does is give you the space and the time to focus so you can get clear on what it is you want out of your life. And even though we can come to terms with the fact that silence is peace and that's a good thing for us, that doesn't necessarily make it easy for us to just sit in that and put everything else aside. Because what's happening is that while you're sitting here telling yourself that silence is peace, you're also seeing your friends like going out and hanging out and like sharing about what they're doing, you know, moments and memories that you're just not going to be a part of. And so you start to feel excluded. And that feeling is going to push you even further to like go out and try to be a part of what they're doing, even if it doesn't align with you. But something that we need to remind ourselves of is that having a busy lifestyle doesn't always equate to it being a healthy one. And when you have a super busy lifestyle, something usually ends up falling off the scale. You end up not feeling balanced, and there's going to be parts of your life that just end up being neglected. And most of the time that ends up being your health or your relationship with yourself. You wanted this super productive, go-getter lifestyle, and then when you have it, you end up feeling burnt out, you're exhausted, and you're stretched too thin from always having something to do. And then you stop being able to like do the things that help you like reset. You're not relaxing anymore, you're not doing any kind of activity to like move your body. And eating well also goes out the window because you're gonna be focused on like getting food and eating food that's gonna be convenient for your busy lifestyle, as opposed to having something that's actually gonna be good for you. So now you have this busy lifestyle and your life looks great to everybody else, but you're not happy and your overall wellness is suffering. So if we don't wanna live this super busy lifestyle, we have to figure out how to not fall into the trap of like living a performative life. And honestly, the easiest way to do this is to just spend some time alone and like really get to know yourself. Because when you listen to yourself and when you know yourself, you're gonna pay attention to how it is that you react to things. You're gonna know what kind of things fuel you and what kind of things drain you. And you're gonna learn to make decisions like based off of that, because you're gonna be way more in tune with what it is that you need, as opposed to just making decisions based on like what other people are doing or what other people are asking of you. If being more in tune and aligned with what makes you happy and what feels right to you means having a routine life or seeming boring to other people, who cares? Just do what's right for you, focus on you, and block out the noise. And if you're struggling with like focusing on yourself or making yourself the priority, go watch my villain era video from last week. And once that's done, you've watched that and you've kind of got an idea of what that looks like to like put yourself first. Check back in with me next Saturday and we'll see how we're doing.